Michael's outside on Wirral Radio 93.1 DAB and online with Sam Sparrow, Black and Gold. Before that, 10 with myself, Adam Sidorn. Good morning to you. 8 till 12 o'clock, playing loads of great tunes and a jam-packed show today as well. Talking business in this hour. I've got Paul Wharmby from the Advanced Business Union and Donal Bannon from Morecrofts Solicitors. So a jam-packed show and more between 11 and 12. Talking Wirral Festival of Firsts in the second hour as well. Tons to get through, isn't there? God, I'm only here for a day and they're getting me to do tons. I'm not used to all this hard work. John Denver plays for you next after this from David Guetta and Emily Sandé. What have I done to deserve this? No, it's not. That's a total different song. You know what? I woke up an hour and a half ago. Let me off for a bit.
Talking loud, talking crazy.
Denver and Annie's song. Right, delighted to welcome to the studio regulars to the show. Paul Wharmby from the Advanced Business Vision. I said Union before, I do apologise.
Good morning.
And Donal Bannon from the Morecrofts Solicitors.
Morning, Alan.
So morning to you too, and thank you for joining us today. How
pleasure.
are we?
Fantastic.
Great. Lovely sunny day.
Marvellous. Right, so just on 10:15. It is business day. It's about listeners as well, and I advise people to use you two as the business gurus that you are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So any questions, whether you own a business or you're looking to get into a business or anything like that, then do get in touch. You can give us a call, you can come on the air and speak to us. 0151 637 3737 is the studio number, or you can give us an email, studio@wirralradio.co.uk, or of course a text message 66777, putting the word Wirral in front of your message. So Paul, just a quick one for new listeners. Just tell us a bit of background about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, no problem at all. My company is Advanced Business Vision Limited. We're based in Hoylake here on the Wirral, on beautiful sunny Wirral today, and we give advice to businesses, small, medium enterprises, partnerships, right the way through to big national companies. We work with clients across the whole of the north of England. Been doing this for 25 years plus now. I'm showing my age, and Annie's song was in my era, so I loved it. But I sort of say to companies that, I can be the missing piece to your business jigsaw puzzle. My good self and my team, we've got a lot of business expertise across all genres, and we're there to help. And as you said, we just like the businesses of the Wirral to sort of come on and ask those burning questions, and hopefully we can answer them.
Donal?
Well, I'm from Morecrofts Solicitors. We're at office in Hamilton Square and Birkenhead, but also our city centre office in Old Hall Street. And we do a whole range of commercial legal services, property, employment, major contracts, buying, selling businesses, franchises, anything you can think of, really. So we've been helping SMEs and family businesses for more than 200 years now. So I think well, not personally, but we certainly predate John Denver.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow, 200 years, wow.
Yeah.
Right, we have got a few questions in of listeners. One off Phil, who's been in touch. I don't think he can get in touch at any point during the hour. Phil said it's time for his annual wage reviews.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, so his staff are talking to him about living increases and so on and so forth. So how does he be a good boss and give them an increase that's appropriate in the wage package?
Okay, interesting question. I think it's also very topical at the moment because it is a new tax year, and businesses are looking at, how they can sort of reward, how they can sort of bring packages and benefits to their employees and whatever. And it's always a very, very difficult time, for business owners, because basically you've got to, as a boss, somehow set your wage parameters, but also let your staff know without demotivating. The idea would be to motivate them. But it's about ensuring that, your staff are always aware of any wage implications, especially wage rises in these times. We hear on the news and in the media that, businesses are booming, the UK PLC is booming again. Well, that may well be, but for certain businesses it's still tough times. You've still got to watch what you're doing. And I would say, the owner of the business guy himself, the guy who's running the business, has to look at how he can increase wages if the business is not doing well, number one. And we say that week in, week out. It's about profitability within your business. But also, how can you increase wages today if tomorrow it's going to cause a cash flow problem within your business? And that would affect everybody, basically. It's not just a wage rise for Joe who works in whatever department. That can then impact across the entire business. But let's get positive. Okay, so you've looked at your numbers. You can give a wage rise of some sort. The big question is, do you give a percentage or do you give a set amount? Do you look at the cost of living? do you bear in mind a percentage? And right now, cost of living is very, very low, as we know. Fuel prices are down, food prices are down, everything's being levered downwards, where people still want to bring up their wages to enjoy a surplus of income, which don't we all? Me too, but the Office of National Statistics has given out a percentage as a guideline, and at this moment it's between 1.5 and 2% as an increase. But I'd say to any business owner out there, look at that wider picture. Should it just be a wage increase, or can you offer your employees an additional benefit? Maybe base it on performance, maybe a performance bonus, whatever you think is good for your business. Previously, businesses I've been running, and specifically in my business today, I look at rewarding people for effort and performance. If you've got a star achiever, a star performer, maybe you should build in something into their package of benefits that would reward them, appropriately, really. And the way to do that would be to put in a performance reward system. Part of an appraisal scheme, and we love those words in business, don't we? It's time for your annual or monthly appraisal. Oh my goodness, what have I done wrong?
Alarm bells.
Absolutely, you've got it. You've had one, haven't you? Yeah. But if businesses attach and build rewarding to performance, you get much more out of your employees. You really, really do. So that performance reward is in place for the year, based on a number of achievements of a number of set objectives. If we do this, you get that. If we don't do this, sadly, you don't get that. It works. Mm-hmm. Everybody comes knocking on the boss's door at this time of year. It's time for the pay rise. It's time for the pay rise. Yes, but I would suggest that you look at it in a broader sense rather than just that pay rise. Look at it as a benefits package. And the beauty for me about an appraisal is maybe it also flags up an opportunity for an employee to change roles, maybe take on a little bit more responsibility, and with more responsibility obviously becomes a little bit more pay, we would hope. So it's looking at the bigger picture, Adam, it really is.
Well, I've been after the pay rise for 9 years.
I was going to say, what's a pay rise,
Right, another email, and Donald, where you can answer this one for us. Jackie, she's thinking of buying into a franchise.
Right.
So what's information wants to look out for, really?
Okay, well, I think first of all she needs to, I presume this is a new franchise. If so, then she, whoever is giving her the franchise needs to provide an agreement for her to have a look at. And the things she needs to look out for in there really is in what, is the territory that she has, is it to be too restrictive that she's not actually going to make any money from it? What obligations is the franchisor going to put on her to ensure that she meets service levels and delivers under it? Because the last thing you want to do is pay usually quite a substantial sum of money up front and then find either that the business that you've taken on isn't viable, or that the franchisor can take it back quite quickly and offer you very little back in return. If it's an established franchise that you're actually taking over, then obviously you need to see the financial records to make sure it is viable. Talk to the person who's actually getting out of it to find out what's gone wrong. Perhaps it's just been ill health and they haven't been able to do the work themselves and have to hand it back. There could be a very legitimate reason for that, but you need to do your homework before you start parting with any cash.
I think we always say this every week, and hopefully the listeners are not getting bored by myself and Donal saying these words, but you need to do your homework. You need to look at the numbers. You need to investigate. Don't just think, that's a fantastic idea, I'm going to part with a load of my hard-earned cash, which I've had from wage increases from my previous employer, potentially, but I am not going to part with that cash until I've done my homework. We call it due diligence, don't we, really? That's the key.
It's common sense, really.
Well, it's common sense,
absolutely.
Yes. Due diligence is a big legal term. Yes, it's really doing your homework, finding out if the business really is worth buying. And there'll be issues as well about licensing of the brand name and all of that. You need to go into it very, very carefully and understand completely what it is you're signing up to. Yeah,
I think you're right with the word common sense, but sadly in business I think we all will understand this, that people sometimes don't use the common sense. They use what we call emotion. Now, emotion's a very, very powerful thing within people, within us as human beings, whatever it is, whatever genre that takes, and we think, I like that idea. I'm going to go and do that. Stand back. Come away from that emotion, look at the numbers, do your homework, try and use that common sense and make it right, because it's a big decision for you, especially if you're leaving secure employment. Maybe you've had a redundancy payout and you're thinking, what can I do now? I'm at that time in my life where things are looking good on the home front, but I need to continue working and being useful in the community or whatever. I'm going to go and plough some money into that franchise.
I draft franchise agreements as well, so I see it from both sides of the camp, and some I've seen are very one-sided. You need to be very careful, get some proper legal advice before you sign it.
Yeah, I think a lot of franchise companies out there are fantastic, and there are many big companies out there which are franchised, and I would say just make sure that you do your homework. That's all I'm going to say.
Right, cheers, gents. Plenty more questions to come from listeners. Take a quick break on the way for you next. Got some easy top for you.
Wirral Radio Daytime with Car Farm Garden Centre, a growing shopping experience on the A553 to Hoyley.
24 minutes to 11 on Wirral Radio, 92.1 DAB and online. ZZ Top and Legs. Love that track, great bit of guitar in there as well. If you just joined us, got Paul Wharmby from the Advanced Business Vision and Donal Bannon from Morecrofts Solicitors in the studio. Good morning, gentlemen.
Thanks again.
Marvellous. No, thank you for coming in, much appreciated. A couple more questions in. Whoever wants to answer, feel free, just jump in whenever you want. Email in now off John. Says, how can I be a better boss? He needs help on how to be appreciated as a boss. He wants to be more effective at managing his business and his people at the same time.
Interesting. Someone wanting to be a better boss, which is always good sign. Nice one. Well, for me, it's all about how much time that boss. John, is it John?
Yeah.
John, it's all about how much time you personally want to invest in your business, really, and obviously into your people. Success in business comes over time and over giving effort. And that time, is sort of like you've got to think about performance, business performance, which we call profit or loss, and then also that time invested in your people, which is obviously about your team, the team around you, the people that work with you and for you. But let's look at people. In many businesses, issues around people are quite key for obvious reasons. And last week, I think I mentioned about a concept which we call TEAM, TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. A lot of people say that's so corny, Paul. You've been saying this for 25 years, But it's so true, If bosses don't embrace their people and bring those people on board and do lots of things, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, companies really do start to sort of suffer. And profitability will suffer, performance will suffer, morale will suffer, people will leave, people will think this isn't a nice place to work, people will also think you're not a good boss because you're not doing these things. And the key that John wants to know is, how can I be a better boss? So, how do I be a better boss and more effective? Okay, you need to look at a couple of key things, and I'll give a couple of pointers. I think for me, number one is, as a boss, you are a leader. So lead, give direction, give clear direction to your people. If you don't know where you're going, how will they? They're going to take their advice and their lead from you. So be a good leader, show that direction. Key for me as well, and I mentioned this last week, it's about two-way communication. I think gone are the days when bosses sat there and told employers, out comes the finger, and I want you to do this, and you will do that, and if you don't do this, you're gonna, that sort of scenario. I think today, people, bosses particularly, and John is keen to get that, that sort of concept in his mind of how can I be a better boss. I think it's about using two-way communication. So use the people around you. There is a knowledge pool. Everyone's got thoughts and ideas, and just because you're the boss doesn't mean to say you know everything. And how can I say that sitting here when I'm giving this advice out? But it's so true, we don't know it all. So learn from the people around you is key. We've got more than one method of communication, so stop talking and start listening is what I would suggest, in a nice way. Use that communication. Provide and demonstrate high integrity as a boss. Live the belief, show that in the way you operate. Have a culture and an ethos that reflects those things as well, because they're going to look to you to lead, and then hopefully they will not only follow but be on board and buy into the concepts that you're going to deliver. Key again is choosing the right people for the right positions, and that's probably the $64 million question, isn't it? How do we ensure we've got the right people to do the jobs? Well, clearly through that process of recruitment, use the skills around you. You know, look for people, look for testimonies, find out that the people that you want to employ for your business to make your business a success are the right people for the job. I think for me as well, it's about coaching and supporting and mentoring, and I do that on a daily basis with clients. I go in and I help them drive their businesses forward. You as a boss need to be able to coach and mentor your people. They want to learn, hopefully. If they don't want to learn, we're back to the people problem again. Do something else, but try and coach and give what I would call objective recognition, you know, not just the odd well done, but really tell them how they've done a good job. You know, Billy, you did a fantastic job today when you spoke to that client on the phone. I love the way you handled the call. You really showed empathy. You were positive. You sold the business, and guess what? You added value. So give objective praise, if you like. Make sure you've got ongoing controls in the business and parameters, and that people know where they are, what the boundaries are. If you've got a policy which says you cannot use internet or whatever during working hours, make sure people do that. You know, anybody who is using the internet out of in working hours when they're not supposed to be, make sure they know they're actually breaching the company regulations. So set those parameters clearly and communicate them. As a boss, make sure you know the implications of any decisions you make, maybe financially, operationally. We say it every week, know the numbers within your business. If you don't know the numbers within your business as a boss, my goodness me, you need to, because you need to be on it. And encourage ideas and innovation. Open that up to people and really get on with it. And say to people, look, you know, this is where we want the company to be. Do you want to be a part of that growth? And embrace it with us. I think it's part and parcel of all that.
Very much so. Another email in for Donal.
Okay.
This time from Lauren in Spittal. She's had a bit of an altercation with someone in her company, and she wants to know, can she be forced to sell her shares in a company?
Not unless Lauren has done something untoward. I mean, it doesn't say what the altercation was, but she could around punching someone or something, and that's been dismissed. And again, we don't know from the from her email, whatever, whether she actually has a shareholders agreement in place. Because if she did, then it may be that would provide that she does have to sell her shares if she's dismissed from the company for untoward conduct. But ordinarily, the position would be no, you cannot be forced to sell your shares. There are sometimes in shareholders agreements a provision whereby if the majority shareholder wants to sell their shares, then they can force the minority to sell their shares as well to this third party. But in the absence of her saying anything like that, it doesn't sound like she's got anything to worry about. It's more likely that there needs to be some sort of reconciliation, I think, between the two of them to see how they can drive the business forward, because if they can't and they're the only shareholders in it, how is the business going to operate properly? It seems like if they can't resolve their differences, one is going to have to buy out the other, and then we're down to the issue of, well, how much are these shares worth? If they can't agree that between themselves, then it may be the company's accountant can assist in valuing what the shares are. But sometimes I've seen this in the past where one of the shareholders doesn't actually like the accountant and feel that they're biased and one-sided and won't believe what they're being told.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, so in those circumstances, you have to try and get an outside accountant. This is expensive as well. You have to get an outside accountant in to advise you what the value of the shares is. So, hopefully they have a shareholders agreement which tells you how much those shares should be worth. But if they haven't done that, it's going to be an expensive exercise.
So sometimes you're spending more money on legal fees than the actual business is worth.
No, obviously not, because I mean, you've an idea. If it's an established business, for example, it's been trading for say more than 3 years, then a very broad brush approach, you'd look at the perhaps there's an annual turnover or 3 times net profit. It's a very very vague way of trying to analyse the value of the shares, but it is some sort of guidance. And if having looked at that, you think, well, it's actually going to cost tens of thousands to resolve all of this, you might well just say, well, no, we just need to agree terms just to get out of it and move on with our lives. But it could be an established business with huge turnover, good profit, good contracts in place, in which case the shares could be very valuable indeed, irrespective of how much was originally paid for them.
Fair enough. Right, we'll take a quick track. We'll come back. Got a few more questions to go through.
Great.
Time's against us, but we'll cram as many in as we can. On the way for you next, we've got some Calvin Harris after this from the Latin Quarter. Well, there you go. We're out and about on Monday as well, so no bank holiday Monday for me. I'm out seeing the Queen's boats.
Sounds good.
It does, doesn't
great.
it?
We're jealous. We're jealous. Come.
You're more than welcome. Right, 5 minutes to go. Couple more questions to get through, and this one, and I know what they're trying to say. Network meetings. Oh. What are the benefits about network meetings? Because I've been to a few, and I'll chip in a bit.
Okay. It does depend. Some people think networking's about selling. I don't think it is. I think it's about much more than that. It's about making contacts. I think they're vital. Really, I think anybody who sort of thinks networking meetings are a complete and utter waste of time is not catching the point. It's not about who's in the room per se. It's about who's in the room, in the people's minds in the room, if you understand what I'm saying. Think of it as a pyramid. The networking meeting is like, 20 people in the room or whatever, but those people know 20 people. Those people know 20 people, and it multiplies, so you get the idea I'm trying to give the concept. It's about making connections. It's about looking for partnerships. It's about looking for collaborations. It's not just about selling. Move away from that mindset. I've got to sell something to you, Adam. I'm here, you're here. Guess what? We should be doing some business. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe 2 years down the line. You're going to go, I remember Paul Wharmby from Advanced Business Vision. What did he say he did? I'll go and get his card. And we talk, and away we go. I was at a networking meeting many, many years ago, and I was talking to a guy who was having a bit of issues with the new invention of the day, and I'm going back a bit now, social media, And he said to me, how can I really project my business and promote my business using social media? So we had a chat. He had a problem because he needed some advice. He came to me, and I helped him out. He then put me in touch with 3 of other businesses that he knew who were having similar problems. So from that one contact, I got 3 other contracts and worked through that, and obviously that then snowballs out. But in a nutshell, think about it's contacts and referrals, and it's about putting businesses together. It's about partnerships. It's about looking for access to products and services. It's about access to expertise that you as a business may not have. It's about exchanging ideas. It's about mutual support as well within a group. If you're coming together on a regular basis, you help each other, which is great. But it's about stimulation. It introduces you to new people. It opens up horizons. It can be a bit of a pain sometimes, but just open your mind a little bit and don't go selling all the time, I think, That makes sense.
Do you not see the problem where you start to go to 2 or 3 or 4 of these different events, and you get the same people at the events?
You can do. Yeah. That's true. And there are some events you go to and you go, in your own head, you go, well, it's a complete waste of time. There's nobody there that I can see, I'm going to be doing any business with. Yeah. But as Paul says, that's probably the wrong approach, actually, because although there's nobody in that particular room, they do know other people, and they may bear you in mind when they're talking to their friends or their contacts and say, oh, actually, I met a chap the other day. He might be able to help you with that.
Yeah.
So, I know sometimes you might think you're wasting your time going to some events, and particularly if it's the same people at the same events all of the time. But actually what you're doing is creating better relationships with them. Yeah. They'll trust you more. They understand better what you're doing, what you can offer. So I think just stick at it, and of course, just don't just attend one type of event. There are lots of them out there, so go to as many as you can. Really.
Spread yourself, but not too thinly. There are, as Donal said, there are many networking events across the region, particularly here on the Wirral, and there's some fantastic networking events. But go in with a different mindset. I believe in bringing businesses together. A lot of my work is actually as a conduit. People say to me, do you know somebody who can do this? Do you know somebody who can do that? And I know quite a lot of different business services. So if I can't provide the expertise, the chances are I know somebody who can, and I'm sure Donald's the same.
Absolutely.
And then because you're networking, you get to understand and trust these people on a personal and a business level. Then you recommend them. Job done for me. It can be the cheapest form of marketing, and we said that last week.
It's the best form of marketing, word of mouth.
Absolutely. Word of mouth and personal recommendation. So try and think I'm not going to try and sell my products or services at this networking meeting. You're going to make contacts for the future, and if you have that mindset, I think you'll then realise that actually it is worth investing some of your time, apart from all the other 1,000,001 things you've got to do in business life. Invest some time in networking, and down the line it will pay dividends to you, definitely.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Right, sadly, gents, we are out of time.
No problem.
We could have gone on for hours.
No, well, thank you. So could we, by the sound of things. But yeah.
Just quickly, how to get in touch if we're going to get in touch with you?
Yeah, no problem at all. We've got a dedicated phone line. It's 0151 668 0363. You can go to morecrofts.co.uk or advancedbusinessvision.com, and all being well, we'll be here next Thursday as well.
Marvellous. Once again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam. Lovely. Thanks very much indeed.
Cheers.